Imagine this, if you will. You're a young peasant living in 14th century France. Simple village life. And today is your wedding day.
A big day.
Huge. Your bride looks amazing. Everyone's happy. Simple celebration. Evening comes. You head towards your little home, ready to start your life.
Sounds idyllic, almost.
Almost. But you step inside, and it's not just your wife. It's the local lord and his men.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And you might think, oh, maybe he's here to say congrats, offer a gift.
You know that's not it.
Not even close. He's there for your wife to claim his right the first night. And you just stand there, completely helpless, saying anything, doing anything. Well, that's death for both of you.
It's almost impossible to wrap our heads around that today, isn't it? Just the sheer powerlessness.
Right.
It's such a brutal snapshot. Not just some grim story, but a real entry point into the shocking realities of the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
Forget the knights in shining armor for a second.
Exactly. We get the castles, the knights, the cathedrals. But what about the grit, the hidden stuff? The systemic oppression, these customs like just Prima Noctis, the manipulation that really defined the so-called Dark Ages. So that's our mission today on the Deep Dive. We're going beyond that surface stuff. We've got articles, research. We want to really challenge what we think we know, peel back those layers, find the darker truths.
And that's so important. History isn't just facts and dates, is it? It's a story. And stories can be shaped, twisted, sometimes deliberately hidden. So we need to critically look at these accounts, understand the control mechanisms, what life was really like for people, get a more complete picture of a time that still echoes today. It's about learning, even the uncomfortable parts.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning of this descent. It really kicks off with a massive collapse. Europe was already shaky, right? Tribal migrations from around 375 AD.
Yeah, unsettling things for a long time.
Then boom, 476 AD, the Western Roman Empire. Gone. Not just a regime change, but the whole structure just vanished, leaving this huge void.
And what's really striking, maybe even scary, is how completely everything Rome provided just disintegrated. We're talking security, those protected trade routes, laws, gone.
Right. Suddenly it's dangerous to travel. Communities are exposed.
Exactly. And trade networks. The flow of goods, resources, ideas across vast distances. That just stopped, or it became incredibly difficult. Local economies get isolated. Scarcity hits.
And information, too, I guess. Roads, communication.
Crucial. Roman roads, communication systems, even widespread literacy among administrators. That all crumbled. So you have this vacuum. Ignorance spreads. Isolation deepens. Vulnerability. And without that central secular state, well, it was fertile ground for new kinds of control, often pretty oppressive ones.
And something definitely rose to fill that void. One of our sources calls it Rome's religious monster, the papacy. It moved in quickly, didn't it? Started manipulating people's faith, setting up its own kind of rule that lasted for, centuries. It's like they looked at Roman control methods and thought, okay, we can use this, but make it spiritual.
That's a really good way to put it. They took Roman social control and, arguably took it one step further. Rome used civic and military power mostly. The papacy tapped into faith, into absolute fear, backed by divine authority, and coupled that with, crucially, enforced ignorance.
And the first big step was controlling education.
Immediately. Strategically vital. When Rome's state schools collapsed, education didn't vanish entirely, but it retreated. Big time. It became confined almost exclusively to cathedrals, monasteries, controlled by the church.
So no more public schools, basically. And I imagine not just anyone could waltz into a monastery for lessons.
Pretty much. The sources say education was mainly for those destined to serve within the church, and the curriculum, carefully shaped, fabricated even to fit the papacy's narrative.
And everyone else, the average person.
Well, with the economy in ruins, people were just trying to survive. Farming, feeding families. Schooling was a luxury they absolutely couldn't afford. So over centuries, literacy just nosedived. Reading and writing became rare skills.
Which is the scary part, right? It wasn't just about skills.
Exactly. Education, literacy. They stopped being tools for broad enlightenment. They became privileges. Guarded by the church, maybe some nobles, used as tools for control, like one source says starkly. Ignorant people become slaves, friends. Don't forget this. When knowledge is gatekept like that, power becomes absolute, dissent, almost impossible.
And it gets even darker. You have the Bible, right? God's word, supposedly. But only the church can read it, interpret it, tell you what it means. And if you, some regular person, tried to translate it into English or German so people could actually understand it themselves.
They wouldn't just tell you off.
No. They'd kill you. Just think about that. The sheer control.
It was extreme, a brutal way to maintain that iron grip on interpretation. It wasn't just about religion. It was about shaping the entire worldview of Europe, keeping it purely Western, isolated from other ideas, science, making people absolutely controllable, that deliberate ignorance, that manipulation. That's the dawn of the Dark Age, according to our sources.
And running parallel to the spiritual control was the very real physical control of the feudal lords. This new system, right? Lords rule the land, offer protection, maybe fix a bridge.
Ostensibly, yes.
In exchange for basically everything. Your labor, your crops, your loyalty. It felt like they owned everything, even your family sometimes.
Which loops us right back to that wedding night scenario, just prime noctis.
Right. The lord's right to the first night. Our source calls it a disgusting custom. The lord gets the bride before the husband. Some say it was about claiming her virginity, just asserting dominance.
A horrific violation, absolutely.
Now, historians debate if this was like an official law everywhere.
True, the legal evidence is patchy. It probably wasn't universal law.
But, and this seems key, poets, storytellers, Renaissance artists, they depict it a lot. So even if not strictly legal everywhere, it was known. A fear. Part of the power play.
Precisely. Its symbolic power was huge. You see it weaponized later, like during the French Revolution, stories about it. It used to stir anger against the aristocracy.
Ah, okay.
So, legal status aside, the idea of it, the threat, really shows the insane power imbalance, the lack of basic human rights. Even your marriage wasn't fully yours. It was subject to the Lord's whim.
Speaking of deep injustices, let's shift to another grim aspect. The oppression of women and the, frankly, terrifying collapse of healing knowledge. One source puts it bluntly, if you're going to oppress a society, you have to oppress women first, erase their identities, imprison their homes.
A chillingly effective blueprint for control, historically speaking. And, yeah, in the Dark Ages, formal education for women, almost totally gone.
Except for nuns, right?
Right. Mostly, yes. If you chose that specific path within the church. Otherwise, opportunities for learning beyond basic domestic skills just evaporated for most women. Their roles became very, very narrow.
But even then, some women managed to learn things, didn't they? Self-taught.
Always. There were always resourceful people. Our sources mention these few who managed to educate themselves. Women who became skilled in practical healing, botany, maybe some basic alchemy, and especially midwifery. The local wise woman.
The person you actually went to when someone was sick or having a baby.
Exactly. But here's the tension. These women, even with limited formal knowledge, had practical skills. They knew things that were one level above the general ignorance, and that practical knowledge, especially healing, became a threat.
A threat to the church's control, because they wanted to be the only source of knowledge.
Precisely. As society got more fearful, more superstitious, especially after things like the Black Plague, anyone with knowledge outside the norm started looking suspicious.
Devil worshippers, sorcerers.
That's where it went. Paranoia took hold. And, as often happens, innocent women were the first easy targets. Those healers, those midwives. Suddenly, they're witches.
And this wasn't just village gossip. It became official policy.
Tragically, yes. It got institutionalized. 1484, Pope Innocent VIII issues an edict, the Summis Desiderantes Effectivus, basically gives the official papal okay to hunt witches.
Wow.
Then, 2 years later, 1486, comes the Malleus Maleficarum, the Hammer of Witches. A literal guidebook on how to find, prosecute, and execute witches. It poured fuel on the fire.
And the accusations were just insane, like casting spells, causing diseases they didn't understand anyway.
Oh, completely absurd by our standards, causing impotence, making crops fail, consorting with demons. And the trials, forget justice, they were designed for conviction.
Like a swimming test.
The infamous ordeal by water, tie her up, throw her in, floats, witch.
Taylor.
Sinks and drowns, innocent, but dead.
Heads I win, tails you lose. Horrifying.
Absolutely. Or reciting scripture. Make one tiny mistake on some obscure passage. You're a servant of the devil. Execution.
And many women died this way.
Most women died like this, one source says. It was a systematic purge of self-educated women, anyone outside the church's tight control. Make women even more submissive and homebound.
And the side effect. Destroying any emerging medical knowledge.
Catastrophic. With healers purged or scared into hiding, what fills the gap? This fantastic medicine, supervised by the Vatican, one source calls it, quite vividly, the upright family of bullshit.
Okay, fantastic medicine. Give me some examples of these diagnoses.
Right. So you have bad stomach pain, Obviously, the devil has entered you.
Yeah, Charlie.
Your leg is shaking uncontrollably. An evil spirit has entered you.
Okay.
Vision blurry in one eye. Clearly, God has cursed you.
Makes sense.
Got a simple stomach cold. Sorry, the devil has entered you again.
It would be funny if it weren't so deadly serious. People actually died because of this thinking.
Countless people. Illness wasn't natural. It was sin or demons. So no real treatment, just prayer to this controlling institutional false god. And if you had psychological or neurological issues, oh, that was much, much worse.
How could it be worse?
Because then it wasn't just a demon visiting, it was full possession. Demons had taken over your body and mind. Cue the exorcism rituals.
And these weren't like in the movies?
Not even close. Brutal stuff. Tying patients to beds, starving them for days, hoping to drive the devil out.
Terrible.
Pouring holy water, just water really down their throats until they basically drown. Claiming it would flush out evil.
My God.
Beating them, thinking pain would force the demon out. Torturing with hot or cold objects. Inducing vomiting with poisons.
What happened to these poor people?
They either died from the treatment or survived completely broken physically and mentally. Then they'd be labeled stigmata. Slaves of the devil, shunned by everyone, usually died miserable and alone.
And on top of all that, basic cleanliness was discouraged.
Actively discouraged. Bathing. That leads to arrogance, vanity. It's an immoral act tied to those pagan Roman baths. So don't wash, be pious.
Which must have been terrible for public health, especially with the plague.
Catastrophic. Perfect conditions for disease to spread like wildfire. And then the autopsy ban. Can't cut open a body, even a plague victim. It's sacred, Vatican says. A sin to examine it.
So, no way to understand the disease, how it spread, what it did.
Absolute zero chance. The ban basically let the plague run free, kill half of Europe, because ideology trumped science, trumped basic observation. Mind-boggling. Just shows the depth of the ignorance, right? But humans always try to find some explanation. So in this vacuum, you get things like medical astrology.
Okay, astrology. Slightly better than blaming the devil for everything, I guess. How did that work?
Well, it was complex in its own way. Draw a star chart for the patient. Wait for the right stars for surgery. Link diseases to planets. Treat based on the planet.
Example, like if I had a stomach ache.
Stomach issues, ulcers, reflux, pain, all linked to the moon. So treatments involve dieting by moon phase, moon bathing, eating moon foods like zucchini, cucumber, things seen as watery. Cool.
Symbolic. Less terrifying than an exorcism, definitely. One source says 1,000 times better.
But probably not very effective.
Not really, no. Symbolic, yes.
Right.
But applying the same moon-based treatment to an ulcer as to simple indigestion, it often failed or led to wrong interventions. And the real tragedy, actual rational methods, remnants from Roman times, did exist.
But they were banned.
Banned as perverted pagan practices, doctors using them, declared witches, sorcerers, killed. It leads to that grim summary. In the Middle Ages, getting sick was one of the worst things. Being a doctor was even worse.
Unbelievably bleak. This whole era, 1,000 years, it feels like a black hole. And this negativity, this fear, it started manifesting in really weird ways, right? Collective hysteria, end of the world prophecies.
Exactly. The psychological pressure was immense, and it broke through in strange mass phenomena. One of the weirdest, the dance plague. Dance plague. People danced to death, literally.
Literally. It happened sporadically from the 11th to 15th centuries. Someone starts dancing alone, uncontrollably. Others join in. Why? Maybe the stress, maybe belief it was religious, maybe, as some suggest, mass hysteria due to chemical reasons.
They just kept dancing. No food, no water.
For days, until they collapsed from exhaustion, heart attack, stroke. Many died.
The Strasbourg case in 1518 sounds particularly bad.
That was the most famous. Frau Treffe starts dancing.
Yes.
Soon hundreds join, day and night, trance-like. Authorities try weird music, then organize festivals.
Which backfired.
Massively. Turned the whole area into, as one historian put it, a Tomorrowland party gone wrong.
Yeah.
Hundreds died. Dozens paralyzed. Just chaos.
Any solid explanation? You mentioned chemicals.
That's the strongest theory for outbreaks like Strasbourg.
Or gut poisoning.
The fungus on rye. Exactly. Common back then, especially in wet years. Eating contaminated bread could cause hallucinations, tremors, convulsions, and crucially, that uncontrollable movement. So they might have literally, chemically, been forced to dance themselves to death. Horrific.
Beyond the physical, there was this mental state too, right? A millenarianism. Belief the world was ending.
Yeah, especially as the year 1000 approached. It's the belief in a massive, imminent, world-altering change, usually foretold by prophecy. In medieval Europe, it was all about biblical verses, the end times, Jesus returning for his 1,000-year kingdom.
And the church. jumped on this.
Oh, absolutely. They fanned the flames,
Mm.
used the fear and hope to get people to ditch worldly stuff, stop trading, give property to the church, naturally,
Of course.
and encouraged crusades to Jerusalem. Get right with God before the end.
So more power, more land for the Vatican.
Pretty much. Collecting donations and destroying the nation's property, as one source puts it. Managing people through fear. It had real effects. Radical religious groups popped up, trade stopped in places.
But then, the year 1000 came and went. No apocalypse.
Exactly. And people started thinking, hang on. They lost respect for the authority of the church. It wasn't instant collapse, but it planted seeds of doubt, led to more questioning sects later on, a crack in the foundation.
It feels like everything was just stuck until the biggest disaster hit.
Right. That old saying, one calamity is better than 1,000 advices, it fits perfectly. The Black Plague, the Carbaba, horrendous, yes. But strangely, it became this massive catalyst for change.
How so? The scale of death was unimaginable, worsened by the church's failures.
Which fundamentally broke the old system. Villages decimated, lords lost their workforce, cities saw populations drop, so rents fell, housing opened up, workers were suddenly in demand, so people migrated from villages to cities seeking opportunity.
And this weakened the feudal system.
Critically, it couldn't sustain itself with those demographic shifts. Slowly, power started consolidating again around monarchs, central governments, the reemergence of central authority after centuries. And all this, plus the church's obvious failures during the plague, eroded faith. Its power really started to wane.
And other things were happening too. Technology, ideas.
Big time. Gutenberg's printing press, suddenly information could spread beyond the church's control. Martin Luther and the Protestant Reformation, a direct challenge to papal authority. Translated the Bible into common language is huge. People could read it themselves. The church lost its monopoly on interpretation.
And out of all this turmoil, the Renaissance.
The light after the darkness, truly.
Yeah.
Supported by nobles, merchants, old knowledge and science were rediscovered, freed from church suppression, spread again, education revived, science, philosophy, art. The darkness of ignorance gradually dissipated. A real rebirth.
And maybe the most powerful symbol of this shift is hiding in plain sight. In the Vatican itself, Michelangelo's creation of Adam.
It's an amazing story. The church commissions him, the master, paint God's glory on the Sistine Chapel ceiling. 4 years later, he unveils this masterpiece. But many art historians think there's a hidden message, a seriously bold one.
Okay, what's the theory? We see God reaching for Adam.
Look closely. God is human-like, clothed.
Mm-hmm.
Adam is naked, kind of limp, almost reluctant. But the background behind God and the angels, it looks remarkably like a cross-section of the human brain. The shape, the folds, it matches anatomical drawings incredibly well.
Whoa, seriously, the human brain.
That's the interpretation gaining ground. The secret message, hidden in plain sight, your God, meaning the church's version, the one used for control, is actually nothing more than a dream made up by the human brain.
That's audacious. Adam being limp signifies
That this false God, the Vatican's invention, is just a product of human imagination, not the real creator.
Wow. Especially since Michelangelo was religious himself, right?
Deeply religious, by all accounts.
Yeah.
But believed in a true, absolute creator, not the shabby creator, as one source calls it, used by the church for oppression. He was likely influenced by rediscovered Greek philosophy, pagan ideas, Hermeticism, stuff that was coming back during the Renaissance.
To put that message, essentially calling the church's God a brain construct right on their ceiling and get paid for it.
It's maybe the most striking message in the history of art. The sheer courage, the vision, using art to whisper truth to power. Incredible.
So we've touched on just a fraction of this 1,000-year period. The rights violations, suppressing knowledge, manipulating faith, so much suffering caused by these empty ideologies. Millions died.
Millions. And while the Vatican's role was huge, maybe even central, some sources argue provocatively that it's the people's fault too, not blaming victims exactly.
But looking at the psychology.
Yeah. When information is controlled, dissent punished, fear is everywhere. It's hard to think critically, to organize. People often defaulted to easy answers, complained to the very powers oppressing them, didn't demand rights, didn't educate themselves because they couldn't or were discouraged. The innocent were crushed, partly because the masses were disempowered.
But eventually people did overcome it after immense suffering. That black flood of plague and ignorance, it did force change, freed people from that system of slavery. It's a hard truth that sometimes collapse precedes progress.
It is a testament to resilience, but also a warning. The lessons from back then, still incredibly relevant.
So for everyone listening today, what's the takeaway? My thought is, don't make the mistake the medieval people made. Don't let ignorance take hold.
Exactly. You have the internet, AI, access to knowledge like never before. Use it. Read, research, find the facts yourself, and chart your own path. That's your power. This history shows us critical thinking, seeking truth. They're your best defense against any group trying to control your mind.
Don't fall into that trap. Learn from the dark past so your future can be bright. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the hidden face of the Dark Ages.